a great friend, and I love working with this man at NFL Films. He does so much for that great outfit and production company. And he's here as the executive producer of Hard Knocks, our friend Ken Rodgers, back here on the program. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing great. How's my favorite Jets fan?
Did you say that to Mike Greenberg the other day?
I did not.
Hold on a second.
I don't get an invite there. I'm a Rich Eisen guy.
Boy,
what a time to be a Jets fan.
I'll tell you what.
For you.
I was always in on them doing it. I thought they should have done it from the very beginning. How much was the arm twisted of the Jets?
Yeah, listen, we have a relationship with these teams that exists on a daily basis. So, it wasn't asking some girl to the prom that you've never asked before. We talk about doing shows and wires and all kinds of access with them. And I've been thinking about, the storyline that people don't want to do the show. And I really do relate it to, let's say, Thursday Night Football or playing a game in Europe or having to travel all the way across the country. If you ask a coach, do you want to do that? The answer is no. I don't want to do that. I want to play home at 1 o'clock. I don't care if fans are there. Turn the TV cameras off. They want to concentrate just on football. But when they're selected to play on Thursday night or they're, selected to play overseas, they're going to try to win the game. They're going to cooperate, participate, and embrace it. And I think that's what the Jets have done. It's really what every team has done in the past, is said, all things being considered, we don't even want fans to watch us. We want to, just be by ourselves. That's just the way coaches are. But they've all embraced it, and the Jets have too. So,
I've thought a lot about this too, Ken, because, I adore you and Ross Ketover and everybody there at NFL Films, and Steve Sable, wrote the foreword to my book that sold about 5 copies. It had nothing to do with him. But, I love NFL Films, and I know how hard you and all the men and women there who keep the Sable flame alive work hard and are not at all intrusive. It's not like, if the coach or the player is there, that you're forcing your way in. You're literally elbowing your way in. But there is a general sense that if somebody does Hard Knocks, something's going to get out, or you're going to reveal something. Is there any part of that process you can lay out on the floor or this microphone or this platform for the listeners and viewers of this show, how this works, Ken?
Listen, you know them. You know the players. You know the coaches. There is a paranoia about that, and that's why we let the coaches review the show and make sure, secrets don't get out. The best example is we once had a play in the background running during a practice, and someone yelled out "refrigerator" in the background. And we had no idea that it was even said, but the team picked up on, hey, you got to get rid of that. We said, get rid of what? The person in the background saying "refrigerator" because that's our goal line plunge play named after the fridge. And we were like, what? There's a And sure enough, you play it over and you say, oh, yeah, someone's in the background saying refrigerator. That would have been a competitive balance issue that we would have, been part of that we don't want to. So we definitely go over that. And in terms of I give a lot of credit to all our cinematographers and our directors out there. We're not as big a crew as you think, and we capture a lot, 400 hours per week. And that's plenty. We don't have to. There's 90 players. We can't capture everything.
Right.
But we don't look to capture everything. We look to capture the essence of camp, the essence of everybody. So a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, if I have to go call my wife about, her doctor's appointment, Hard Knocks is going to be listening to me in the hallway. No, that's not the case. Like that. That's going to be something you're going to be able to do. But when it comes to the job, this is a workplace drama. We're going to be all around, and we're going to watch you doing your job.
And but what about the pushback from you on the content front, where a coach or a player might be a little bit too protective or paranoid, and you're like, come on, because again, that's what's beautiful about this show is we feel like we're a fly on the wall. And that we are behind the scenes. What can you share on any conversations you have on that front to make sure this isn't coming across in many people's minds as a whitewash or a greenwash, to use the Jets as an example here. Ken?
Yeah, jet wash, green wash.
No, that's right.
It's never been the case for years now, really more than a decade. I think the Jets probably helped change that in that the teams now know what the show is. They know that if there's, a rookie singing, or they know if someone gets yelled at in a meeting, or if there's a conversation between the quarterbacks out on the field, like those things are going to make the show. They know what they're signing up for or what they're selected for, as were the case. So the team kind of gets it, and you'd be amazed at how much the young players get it. It makes me feel old, but Hard Knocks has been on the air 20 years now, 21 years.
Yeah,
they've all grown up watching the show. I mean, if you think back to the last Jets, that was 13 years ago. Well, most of these kids were probably 8, 9, playing Pop Warner, watching Hard Knocks, and they've watched it ever since. In a world of social media, they're not freaked out by the cameras. They don't care about putting their world and their life out there. They are completely comfortable and themselves, which makes the show even better. So we don't really have to fight that fight anymore.
Hard Knocks executive producer Ken Rodgers here on the Rich Eisen Show. The history of Hard Knocks again. I do remember the first time I saw a player get cut. With the cameras watching, I was kind of jaw on the floor, like, wow, that's the way this happens. Turk comes to knock on the door, get your playbook. Is it true the Jets didn't want to show that stuff? They say that you're not showing any player getting cut. Ken, is that true?
Yeah, we haven't even picked our players, so I know that's been reported, but that's not something we've gotten to in the show yet. So
okay.
We're still working with the Jets. I mean, I think the cool thing about Hard Knocks is that the show has actually made the cuts more humane. There was a point where people started saying, wow, this is a rough business. Mm-hmm. But if you notice in recent years, the players are coming in and they're saying, listen, thank you for treating me like a man. Thank you for what you've taught me. Thank you for being honest with me. They don't really have the cold Turk knocking on your door, give me your playbook, we're putting you on a plane thing anymore. I think the perception was, wow, this is a rough business. And to the NFL's credit, they changed the process and said, you know what, we need to have somebody, from player personnel talk to the player, make sure they're okay mentally, make sure they're okay physically, make sure they're not just getting kicked out. And all that happens now, I think, because the show showed the truth, and now when we show cuts, it really, certainly not a positive moment, but it's an extremely respectful moment. And I can't think of a recent coach or GM or anyone who's come off looking bad during a cut. They're doing their job.
Ken Rodgers of NFL Films, executive producer of Hard Knocks here on the Rich Eisen Show. And again, I'm assuming, what's the number of microphones you put on Aaron Rodgers in his career, right? I mean, so it has to be in the upper, hundreds of times that you've done that. And again, I know he mentioned shoving it down the Jets' throat when he mentioned Hard Knocks, but is everything cool? Because obviously he's got to provide access for this thing to work, Ken.
Everything's
right?
Beyond cool.
Great.
He's been beyond cool. He is beyond cool, period. I think people are going to see, even if you really have followed his career, people are going to see a different Aaron Rodgers. I think you saw that, during the Hall of Fame game, just from the sideline, how he was talking about how much fun he's having. We put a clip out earlier last week where he is in a huddle and he's talking to the quarterbacks and saying, you got to appreciate it because you'll be old and gray and not have many years left. And I think he's in that spot where he understands it's a privilege to play the game. He enjoys his teammates. He enjoys his team, and he's really in a great spot. And it shows on the first episode of Hard Knocks. I think you'll see an Aaron that everyone is going to be fascinated by.
I saw that clip too, where he also said, "Hey, sit with somebody you don't know. Be a leader at lunch." And I saw that clip, and it was great. No, it's also a privilege. Sometimes you get privileges being on Hard Knocks, and you're being Aaron Rodgers. I couldn't help but notice Liev Schreiber was at the actual Jets practice, and I'm just wondering, if you helped make that wish come true for Aaron. Were you the one?
Someone like Aaron Rodgers comes out publicly and says the thing they like about Hard Knocks is the narrator.
Yes.
And the narrator happens to be a Jets fan and happens to live in New York. The production helped a little bit. It certainly helps. Yeah. Certainly helps that he wanted to go meet Aaron, and I think it's one of the highlights of the show. It'll be in the show of Liev meeting Aaron, and I think everyone's going to, like I said, love Aaron, and I think everyone will love Liev too. It's a great scene, and it's one among many great scenes I think this week.
All right, what else? What else can we expect on the Tuesday premiere? What else? What other breadcrumbs you're willing to drop right now, Ken?
Hey, listen, Aaron Rodgers will be on the show. How's that as a scoop?
That's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. All right, you want to keep everything else close to the vest? I understand. Okay,
I can give you that. Look, there's a lot of big stars on this team, and we're going to take our time to get through all of them. There's definitely some surprises in terms of what happens at camp, and some things that everyone sort of knows about. Everyone knows that Sauce and Garrett Wilson, and we're practicing hard against each other. We're going to show that. That's going to be an exciting thing for anyone who loves great football. Love that segment.
Dalvin Cook's visit as well.
Dalvin Cook's visit is still to be determined. We're kind of in the ninth hour here, maybe 11th hour of putting the show together, and it doesn't seem like anything's going to come of that right now. It certainly hasn't yet, and so that story is sort of incomplete right now, I guess.
Okay,
so we're sort of standing by.
Got you on that. And then last one for you. Another reason why people sometimes push back at NFL films, being embedded in coverage, is because they don't want to make it seem like they're searching for the spotlight. Again, I, take the approach because I know you guys, and I know that you are, again, 1,000% documentarians first, right? And also making sure that everyone knows that they're comfortable being mic'd up and that you're not the enemy. But you are providing everyone insight, and that's why I love it. But some people might think that, hey, I did an NFL Films thing and I'm seeking the spotlight, and that seems to be the issue with season 2 of Quarterback right now. I don't know if that's your bailiwick as well. I'm just assuming. What is your, where are you on that front right now? It seems like some quarterbacks just say it's not the right time for me or anything like that on that remarkable series, by the way, on Netflix.
Remarkable. I mean, it seems like it. I will admit I don't have I've been so wrapped up in Hard Knocks, I don't know what the status is of the quarterbacks for season 2. I do know that, when people push back, we have the best argument you can have, which is, well, Patrick Mahomes did it and he won the Super Bowl, so what are you worried about? I think I think you can use it or not use it how you want. It reminds me of the story when Steve Sable first went to shoot a training camp. It wasn't Hard Knocks. It was 1968. It was with Vince Lombardi. And he only had film for a day, so he shot Packers camp, for one of our highlight films, doing a film on Vince Lombardi. And at the end of the day, Vince Lombardi said, "Steve, I want you to come back tomorrow." And Steve said, I can't. I shot all the film today. I'm heading back. And Vince said, "My team practiced harder today than they have all camp because that camera was running. I want you back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow." And, of course, what's Steve going to say? Okay, I'll be there. So the next day he came and just acted like he was filming with no film in the camera.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Absolutely. It's the truth. Just so Vince Lombardi could get his team a little more cognizant that eyes are watching. You know what? People are going to watch this, and are you going to be slacking off, or are you going to practice hard? And that's what I mean, where I think people can use it or not use it in different ways. For the Jets, and I think maybe quarterback, I'm not sure, but certainly for the Jets, you're going to have a season where you will be under the microscope. And if you get to the playoffs where you want to go, boy, there's going to be a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing is sort of embracing that and saying, okay, that's what it's going to be. Let's get used to it. Let's get used to those couple extra cameras at practice, because if we're going to be who we want to be, we need to learn to operate, whether there's film in the camera or not, whether people are watching or not. We need to always feel like we're operating at our best. And, I think of Vince Lombardi all the time when I think of that.
That's an amazing story. I thought, Ken, you were going to say, the end of that story was like, well, Steve found a way to get film all the way to Packers camp, and by horseback or and the answer was he just pulled a gambit on Vince Lombardi, or did Vince
No,
did not
I think
know?
Vince was in on the joke.
Oh,
Vince
he was.
Knew that there was no film. The players didn't know. And Vince said, I don't care whether there's film in the camera or not. Just point it at them because we're going to practice better. So Steve stood there like a dope all practice, acting like the camera was going, and he didn't have any film, and the players practiced harder. And Vince was smart enough to use that, and I know plenty of coaches that play those sort of mind games of, hey, how can I get a little more out of the players?
It's a good thing Bart started and asked to check the dailies, huh, Ken?
He didn't have approval over the cut back then. We didn't.
Vince had final cut. Clearly.
That's right. Vince, yeah.
Thanks for the call, Ken. I greatly appreciate it. We'll chat again soon. And I look forward to working with you with MGM Plus again on Icons. Looking forward to that this fall.
Absolutely. Always a great time talking with you.
Right back at you. That's Ken Rodgers, executive producer of NFL Films. Hard Knocks debuts Tuesday night on HBO at 10 Eastern, and you can watch it on Roku on Max. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.